All right. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be introducing the skills development video related to the book about Anansi and Vulture. And so we will break down and explain the end section of the lesson plan. And I just realized my tape is wrong. There we go. So the previous videos, we introduced the beginning section, the middle section of the lesson plan, and now we're going to really review the ending. So in the end section, the key steps are wondering questions and the processing activities. So for this lesson, there's only one processing activity, but sometimes there can be more. It just depends. But so for this one, we have our wondering questions and our processing activity. So for the wondering questions, we always include them at the end of the story. And wondering questions are questions that create time and space for students to really wonder about a question. So they do not ask from facts from the story or about the story. So they're open-ended questions. And the most important part of wondering questions is that they're relevant to the children in their lives. It asks them to really look into their own experiences and have them really apply themselves and think about their own connections. And because these questions are about personal experiences and are open-ended, they won't have a right or wrong answer. It will just be different for each student because we're all different and have unique experiences. So for this story, we have, I wonder what part of the story you liked. I wonder why you like that part. The second question is, I wonder if you saw yourself in the story. I wonder if you've ever been in a situation similar to the rabbits, the Nancy's, or the vulture situation. And I wonder if you've ever been jealous of someone else before. I wonder how you responded in that situation. And I wonder if you would respond any differently now. So again, these questions are really just encouraging the students to think about their own experiences and share their feelings and connect it to their life. So just a couple more tips about wondering questions. So wondering questions really take practice. Children may not be used to being asked what they feel or think. Oftentimes in classrooms, there's one correct answer, or students have to repeat the teacher. And so this might be different, asking them to think of their own answers. So that because of that, children may need an explanation of what the wondering questions are. So in our lesson plan, we always provide like a little explanation like this. When we wonder about a story, we share our feelings or ideas. Wondering questions are questions of the heart or questions about how we feel. So there are no right or wrong answers. So just something kind of short and simple like that to let students know that they're free in the space to answer however they want. The second tip about wondering questions is to make sure that you affirm a child's responses by reflecting back what the child shared. So for example, you could say, oh, you liked the way the girl smiled in that picture. Or you liked it when the teacher helped the child. So affirming the child without comment shows that the child was heard and that you, the teacher, were really interested in that child and what was important to them. So affirming them really validates their response and lets them know that you are paying attention and you validate their answers. It's also important to avoid comments such as, that's right, or like, yeah, good job. Because when you respond with things like that, it gives other students the idea that there's a right way to answer the questions. But we want to get away from that and make sure that students are all comfortable to answer however they want. And then the last tip is that children may learn after you've done it a few times to ask their own wondering questions. So if you notice students start to ask questions like, I wonder what Vulture did in before he found the basket, or I wonder what Anansi will do now. If they start thinking of those questions, it's really actually kind of fun, and you should follow the children's wonderings and really share in their imagination and wondering to encourage that creativity. So now we're going to show you a clip, an example from Anansi and Vulture, where I demonstrate with Sally and Jingran how the wondering questions will sort of look. But again, keeping in the spirit of wondering questions, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just an example for you to see how it's done. So now we'll think about some wondering questions. And then remember, when we wonder about a story, we share our feelings or our ideas. So there's no right or wrong answers. I wonder if there's a part of the story that you liked, and I wonder why you liked that page.
I guess I, in a way, liked the elders saying to Anansi, you know what, Vulture found this, and kind of, he punished him for doing what he had done to Rabbit. But it doesn't really feel right, like a solution that I would like.
You liked this page when the elders told him that you were trying to claim something that was not yours. And it felt like they were giving Anansi a message.
I like the last page where Anansi got back to the same place with the rabbit, and feeling the same with the rabbit in the previous page at the beginning, that at first it was rabbit who feels sad and everything was so unfair, but in the last, the Anansi felt the same, that he's sad and he felt so unfair. It's an unfair decision, but it is he who begins it, so it's like a loop, a circle.
Yeah, you like the end when it kind of came full circle, and Anansi was upset again at the end after his own actions. Yeah, both of those are really great and interesting parts of the story, and I liked them as well. I wonder if you saw yourself in the story. I wonder if you've ever been in a situation similar to the rabbits, or similar to Anansi's, or the vultures. So we know Rabbit had something taken away from him, and Anansi had also had something taken away from him. And then the vulture took something away from somebody else.
Yeah, one time there was some really good pastry, and my husband ate it. And I was like, I was gonna have that for my snack, and it's gone. And he said, you didn't claim it, did you? Did you put your name on it?
So you felt a little similar to maybe Rabbit and Anansi, that had something taken away from them. I wonder if you've ever been jealous of someone else before. Remember at the beginning when Rabbit was growing all of his fruits and vegetables, and Anansi was so jealous that he was so successful. And so I wonder if you've ever been jealous of someone before. And I wonder how you responded in that situation. And I wonder if you would respond any differently now. So we know from the beginning that Anansi was jealous of Rabbit, and he responded by stealing Rabbit's land. I want you to think of a time that maybe this happened to you. And I wonder how you responded.
I remember that I like in my middle school, I had a friend who got really good grades in exams, and I was jealous of her. And but I didn't realize that it was jealousy. And then sometimes I just fought with her, argued with her unconsciously, and I just got every time I got excuses to fight with her. So but then I realized, yeah, maybe it's just jealous. And I think the better way is because she deserved it, because maybe she worked hard. So rather than be jealous of her, it's better that I take my efforts. I focus more on my study and to do my best, rather than to just to fight with her because it's not her fault, but I can do something by myself to be better.
Yeah, so you were jealous of a classmate who had gotten some good grades, but maybe instead of arguing with her, you think it would have been better to focus on yourself and concentrate maybe to get your own better grades.
Yeah, and I think it also relates to this story that Anansi, rather than he took the vegetables or argue with Rabbit, he can learn by himself or by asking from rabbits to ask his advice, so that he can better his skills in growing vegetables and fruit.
Okay, if there's no other answers, we can move on to our last activity. Thank you all for answering these wondering questions. They were very interesting. All right, thank you for watching our example of wondering questions. And then lastly, in the end section of the lesson plan, we like to include some processing activities. And this really helps the students continue their learning of the story, and also just to have fun while doing it. So you can do many different activities. There's many different ways. For example, sequencing activities are a fun way for students to practice putting the story in order. Also, rewriting the story is a fun way for students to work together and create a new story. And rewriting and creating a new story is really kind of next level, higher order thinking, because it challenges students to keep practicing their English and their understanding of storybooks. So it allows them to really take themselves outside of the storybook and create something totally new. So again, it's similar to wondering questions. It's all about creativity and encouraging the students to create their own stories and create their own opinions, and just feel free to share and create. So that's just a little bit about the end section of the lesson plan. Sally or Jingran, did you want to jump in about either the wondering questions or the processing activities?
Both take a lot of time for kids to get comfortable. The younger the child, the sooner they are willing to answer wondering questions. The older the children, the longer it takes for them to get used to open-ended questions like this, because they've experienced questions with one answer for a while. So the real littles will get wondering questions much sooner.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
Yeah, you go first.
I was just gonna say, for the older students, it will probably take more practice to keep encouraging them to do this. Sally brings up a good point, but the younger kids are a little bit more flexible and free, so they might be more comfortable like the first time you ask them to engage in wondering questions. Yeah, Jingran?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the one question. I think you made a really good point about teachers' response to students' answers, not saying something like "that's right." I didn't think about it before, but I was wondering, like something like "good idea." Can we say that? I mean, not to one or two students, but to everyone. No matter how they respond, we can maybe reply to them, "good idea." It's not an affirmation of some right answer, but an affirmation of everyone's response. As long as you respond to me, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I guess to that, I mean, Sally, feel free to jump in, but I personally, like, I don't know if you noticed in the example, I waited until the very end to say that you all did a great job, or you all had really great ideas. So I personally, as an educator, and would encourage people to wait until the very end, because if you say it at the very beginning, you know, usually the kids who speak up first are the ones who always speak up first. So if you say good idea right at the beginning, then it might set like a precedent, or it might set the example for the other students that they're not as good as that first one, because you haven't said it to them, right? So they don't know that you're going to say good idea to them also. So I think like kind of a good practice for this is to just affirm every child and then wait until the very end to then say, you all did a really good job. So then it's a collective because everyone's shared by that point. So then everyone will feel proud of their answers.
I think you're right. And I think it's so easy for us to make a comment after each person, but I like your idea better. Just thank you for your answer and writing it down, or acknowledging that we're somehow keeping the answers. Whether you write it on the board, if there's a board, or take notes so that you can refer back.
Yeah, you could say, yeah, you can affirm, like repeat back what they said, or also just say thank you. So it's kind of getting closer to saying like good job, but just saying like thank you, like we respect your answer, without kind of being too leading in a sense, I guess.
When
Yeah.
we were teaching really young kids in kinder and they weren't writing yet, but we were encouraging them to learn language. If there's a way to write it so they can see it, that supports English learning. And then I had a friend that used to say, I'm taking notes on what you said, but you have all such good ideas that I will write this up and show it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, so you could say that at the beginning too, to affirm everyone, just say, I know you're all gonna have great ideas. So I'm gonna write them all down so we don't forget. That could be another way to do it at the very beginning. All right, well, I think with that being said, I think we'll close out this skills development video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And feel free to check out all our other demonstration videos and skills development videos as well. All right, thank you.